You're listening to JetNation Radio, the official podcast of JetNation.com, the largest independent fan site in the NFL. Be sure to check out our forums and talk all things Jets with thousands of other diehard Jets fans. Now, to get you up to date on all the latest Jets news, notes, and quotes, here are your hosts, Glenn Naughton and Alex Varallo.
Good evening, Jets fans. I'm Glenn Naughton. This is JetNation Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in to this evening's episode. I will be flying solo as Alex, our good friend, as many of you know, through the COVID process. Alex has a day job which requires him to be a big part of some mass shipping. And given the weather conditions at the moment, some of the storms and snow hitting the U.S., Alex is dealing with a bunch of trucks across the country trying to get them from point A to point B. He cannot be with us. Good luck, Alex. And Dylan Terman, who also joins us regularly, and especially when one of us cannot be present. Dylan is a bit under the weather. And maybe it's from watching the game on Sunday. I don't know. That would make anyone sick. But by all means, Dylan, hope you feel better. And so this will be a short episode. I'm not doing a full hour on this team tonight because this team's pretty disgusting, to be honest. I want to say right off the bat, start things off by apologizing because listen, when you're wrong, you're wrong, and you got to be willing to admit it. Even though I'm sure this isn't something that this particular person will be listening to. But God, for the past, 20 or so years, I've been saying that the worst coach ever to coach this football team in my lifetime was Rich Kotite. And I swore that we would never see a worse head coach, that there would never be a coach in my lifetime that would be comparable to Rich Kotite, who was an unmitigated disaster. 1-15 in 1996, Mr. Rich Kotite, who, did have a far more talented team than Adam Gase had. But on a week-to-week basis, just in terms of pure coaching decisions, Adam Gase takes the cake. You have never witnessed a worse football coach for the New York Jets than Adam Gase, as the Jets fall to the Seattle Seahawks by a score of 40-3. The Seattle Seahawks own the NFL's 31st ranked defense. 31st. The Jets own the NFL's 32nd ranked offense. Dead last. This was their first opportunity to play a team with a defense as bad as Seattle. The Jets were never going to win this game, but certainly they'd put up some points against the worst defense in the NFL, right? The second worst defense in the NFL, right? Wrong. The Jets produced 185 yards of total offense. Their worst of the season. They saved their worst offensive performance of the season for the 31st ranked defense in the NFL. Absolutely embarrassing in every imaginable way. They did nothing right. They picked up a few yards on the opening drive, kicked the field goal, hooray, and that was it. Outscored 40-0 from that point on. And don't tell me for 1 second that this Seattle Seahawks team couldn't have scored 60-plus points if they wanted to. They pulled the starting quarterback in the third quarter. In 3 quarters of football, Russell Wilson threw 4 touchdown passes. He could have thrown 8 if Seattle hadn't taken their foot off the gas. On offense, Sam Darnold continues to look lost. And you know what's depressing? You know what I did today? Because some of us are just gluttons for punishment. I'm just as guilty as that of that as some people from time to time. I went back to satisfy my curiosity and see if I really was nuts when I say that Sam Darnold now looks far worse than he did in his very first NFL game. So I went back and I watched the Jets versus the Lions and Sam Darnold's NFL debut when he threw the infamous pick six to start the game when Jeremy Bates called for a pass across his body from one end of the field to the other. And not lengthways, folks. The width of the field. Sam Darnold threw a disgusting balloon. The width of the field that was picked off and run back. And from that point on, Sam Darnold, I watched rookie NFL debut Sam Darnold do things that he doesn't come close to doing today. I saw him hitting third and fourth options on pass plays. I saw him buying time with his feet and making accurate throws on the run across his body. I saw quick, decisive throws. Ball was snapped, receiver open, boom, ball came out. None of that is happening for Sam Darnold right now. To which some skeptics have said, well, that's because the league they as teams gather tape, they can adjust to a quarterback. Of course they can. Of course they can say this quarterback struggles when he's throwing to his left, or this quarterback has a hard time throwing the ball intermediate to deep down to his right. This quarterback hesitates to throw the ball into the middle of the field. Of course, there are things you can adjust to as a defense and figure guys out. But this isn't what I'm talking about with Sam Darnold. There's nothing a defense can do that I'm aware of that can make a quarterback decide, you know what, I'm going to stop going through my progressions and I'm just going to throw everything into triple coverage and double coverage. I'm going to throw the ball to guys who are blanketed, and I'm not going to see guys who are wide open all over the field. And it's not like, oh, he's got a blind spot, and when a guy's open deep down the right sideline, he just misses him. He doesn't look in that area. I'm talking intermediate, deep, shallow, left, center, the whole damn field. We've seen Sam Darnold consistently not see guys all year. That wasn't happening with day one rookie Sam Darnold. He wasn't panicking. He wasn't locking onto one guy and throwing the ball his way regardless of what the coverage was showing him. So this is what Adam Gase has managed to produce. And Adam Gase said it himself a couple of weeks ago. I was brought in to get this guy to the next level, and I didn't do it. It was a brief moment of accountability before Gase jumped in the "we have failed." When everyone fails, Gase is more than happy to let you know that we failed. He's the head guy. He's the offensive genius. He's the offensive guru. He's the quarterback whisperer. He's Peyton Manning's guy. He was brought in because that was his number one job. He has failed miserably. Just 1 week removed from a game that saw this team, this atrocious football team, run for 206 yards on the ground with Ty Johnson and Josh Adams. Adam Gase goes back to Frank Gore. And listen, I know you can say, but Glenn, Frank Gore only had 8 carries. Well, when you only score 3 points, you're only getting a few drives. 8 carries is 8 too many for Frank Gore. And yeah, it's true. Ty Johnson struggled. He was nowhere near as effective as he was the previous week. I get that. only averaged, 2 yards a carry? But by the same token, you had Josh Adams, 27 yards on 6 carries. He's the younger guy. He's got the fresher legs. Coming off a strong week. Does Adam Gase have any time to, does he have the thought to say, you know what, let's bench Frank this week, and let's go with Josh Adams and Ty Johnson and either split carries evenly or go with the hot hand, which, of course, would have been Adams. No, not Adam Gase. He goes with Frank Gore, 8 carries, 23 yards. Adam Gase smitten with every carry, every touch. Adam Gase could not be more impressed with Frank Gore. Told the media after the game, I went with Frank Gore because he was a good matchup for this defense. Yes. 3 yards a carry. Fantastic matchup. Fantastic. Adam Gase's love affair with Frank Gore is absolutely nauseating. I'm almost a little disappointed in Frank Gore here, but Frank Gore just wants to play. Really the right thing for him to do would be to just go to Joe Douglas and say, look, man, put me on IR. We're not winning a damn thing. These guys ahead of me are, they have something to prove. But again, Frank, I don't know. I'm torn on that. I'd love to see Frank Gore pull himself out, but I understand that's not how Frank Gore is built. Just that in a perfect world, we wouldn't see Frank Gore suit up ever again for this team. Denzel Mims, unable to play because he had to leave for a family emergency earlier in the week. COVID restrictions prevented him from being eligible to play on Sunday. We know that Jamison Crowder was playing, he was banged up all week, questionable up until kickoff. There were some people that thought he may not play. So he was playing, but clearly not 100%. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, some of us remember a few weeks back when Chris Herndon got involved in the passing game again and made 2 fantastic catches. I don't think he's seen a target since then. But I thought, well, this is the day they get Chris Herndon involved again because Crowder is banged up and Mims is out. 1 target for Chris Herndon. 1 target, 1 catch, 9 yards. That's it. Done for the day. Jamison Crowder, 2 targets, 7 yards. Jamison Crowder, folks, through the first, 4 or 5 games of the season, was averaging more yards per game than any slot receiver in the NFL. He was over 100 yards a game. Now, 2 catches, 7 yards. Chris Herndon, 1 catch, 9 yards. Perriman had a couple of big drops. Only had 26 yards himself. It's embarrassing, folks. It's embarrassing. It's putrid. And I'll tell you what, man. Thank God Adam Gase did the right thing and fired Greg Williams. Because Greg Williams was clearly the problem. Greg Williams was the reason why the Jets were no good. As the Seahawks put up 40 in 3 quarters. Well, I'm sorry, they did kick a field goal in the 4th quarter. So I apologize. Seattle didn't score 40 in 3 quarters. They only scored 37 in 3 quarters. Which is, it really just, it couldn't have looked any easier for Seattle. We even got to see the great Geno Smith. Remember that guy? Geno comes in off the bench, goes 4 for 5. Thank God didn't throw a touchdown. Could this get any worse? I'm at the point, I've said a few times this season, that I don't even care anymore. The losses don't even sting anymore. Because I get it, tank for Trevor, blah, blah, blah. But this game, 31st ranked defense in the NFL. You kick a field goal on your first drive, and that's it for the rest of the day. Sam Darnold goes 14 out of 26. 132 yards. Sacked 3 times. Just an overall embarrassing performance. If you had to pick a highlight, a play that goes to Marcus May. Marcus May had a fantastic interception along the left side, in the end zone along the left side, where really, you look at Marcus May, and I've talked about it. Can't remember if I brought this up on the show last week, but people have said, oh, Marcus May's been really good. They should bring him back. And I'm just thinking, who the hell, why would you assume he would want to come back? And I understand there's going to be a new quarterback, and I understand there's going to be a new head coach. So there's going to be new everything, pretty much. But, man, you got to have a real bad taste in your mouth going into that facility every day, just knowing how putrid this situation is. And listen, I understand that the expectation, the hope, this team gets to 0-16 and this team gets to draft Trevor Lawrence, and that we expect a quarterback of his caliber to turn a franchise around in a hurry. But that may not be. If you're in that locker room and in this huddle every Sunday, you may not feel that way. You may not think that this team is good enough, even with the additions they'll make, to turn things around. And sometimes it's just, whether a situation is good, bad, ugly, whatever, sometimes it is just time for a change. And would you be able to blame Marcus May if he said, you know what, it's time for me to change scenery, get out of here, get a fresh start somewhere? I wouldn't blame him one bit. I hope he stays, but I would not be surprised if he just said, you know what, I'm checking out, I'm leaving, I'm going somewhere else. And the same goes for Jordan Jenkins, who was placed on IR. And as many of you know, I've been a Jenkins guy over the years. I am, as I've said many times, I do tend to favor guys who are just, I just love the hard workers, the guys who bust their asses every day and who don't get enough credit for being as good as they are. This has been a down year for Jordan Jenkins, without a doubt. If you watch him the last 3-4 weeks, though, he has been a much better player, but still not good enough to command a long-term deal or a big contract. Who knows where he'll go? He could be another situation where he just feels like it's time to move on. We know he does. He said before the season he was tired of losing, and now he's about to go 0-16. I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Jenkins, if the Jets were his only offer, I wouldn't be surprised if he just said, no, I'm good. I'll sit at home and wait for someone else to call. So it was ugly in that respect. The defense, the edge rushing has been ugly, even with Jordan Jenkins, even with him playing a little bit better of late. Terrell Basham, invisible the other day, and a guy we've talked about a little bit, and I know we've mentioned the low snap counts, which is, completely understandable. But Jabari Zuniga, this is a guy this team was expecting to be a force off the edge, and let's be honest, he's been completely invisible. And that's a little bit concerning, because even with him having missed camp and all this stuff, we've talked about it, missed training camp, no preseason, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't explain why the guy should be, to say he's been a non-factor would be pretty generous. I haven't seen a pressure. I haven't seen a hit. I've seen him get knocked around quite a bit, if I'm being honest. I've seen him get upended a couple times. Spends more time on the ground than you'd like to see. And again, I'm not just saying in terms of what I'm seeing. I looked the other day. I think he's, according to our friends at Pro Football Focus, they've got him down for 1 quarterback pressure in 6 games. I think he had around 50 pass rush snaps. I think when we looked last week, he was at 45, something like that. So he's around 50. He's had around 50 plays where he's got after the quarterback, and he's got 1 pressure. So that pick, again, it's very early, but still, it's like, man, show us something. Do something to give us a little bit of hope here that he's going to be a player. But that doesn't appear to be the case early on. So you get blown out. You look at the schedule the rest of the way. You got the Rams this week. You're going to fly out to play the Los Angeles Rams, fly out to the West Coast to play the number one defense in the NFL. I don't see, and I said this earlier, I was joining a Rams podcast earlier. I'll tweet it out later if you want to tune in. I just kind of rambled. The guy's asking me questions, and I just rambled and rambled and rambled because this team is so bad right now. I don't even know what direction to go in when I'm talking about the way this team is playing right now. It really is just it was unbelievable. Or it is unbelievable to watch this and to talk about it. It's just it's funny at this point. Like, what is it, right? You laugh. If you didn't laugh, you'd cry. And that this team just damn near brings you to tears, right? So you're gonna fly out. You're gonna play the Rams. I don't think the Jets, barring a turnover, barring a busted coverage on special teams, something like that, even a busted coverage on defense. Like, which would still mean the offense executes, so to be fair. But I don't see how the Jets get into Rams territory in this game. I don't. If they keep playing their game. Now, if the Jets come out and say, look, we're terrible, we're 0-13, we'd like to get a win, and they just start heaving the ball down the field and, toss a couple deep balls to Denzel Mims on some one-on-one coverage, and he makes a grab, yeah, fine. But if the Jets keep running the same trash they've been running all year, running everything inside of 15, 20 yards, giving the Rams secondary, a smaller window to work in because they don't have to worry about the deep ball, and you keep running Frank Gore up the middle, I don't see the Jets getting onto the Rams side of the field. I think the Jets you can legitimately expect them to spend the day on their side of the 50, barring, again, a Rams turnover or, maybe you see Braxton Berrios break a big punt return, something along those lines. But as far as Jets lining up on offense and sustaining a drive that brings them from their own 15-yard line inside of territory, I don't see it happening. I just don't. I don't see how anybody. I mean, look, folks, they just got completely dominated. Completely dominated by the 31st ranked defense in the NFL. Jamal Adams picked up a sack or a half a sack to give him the record for DBs, blah, blah, blah. Good for him. Fine. He's gone. You hope Joe Douglas does the right thing with those extra picks. It really is just every week it's something with this team. But listen, we knew this team had the potential to be bad. I said I thought their floor was 5 wins. I thought they could eke out 5 wins. I thought Fitzpatrick would start long enough for Miami that they could steal a win there. I thought they'd beat Buffalo, but this too. I think that I could be wrong, but I think we did our projections before we knew C.J. Mosley was sitting out. Not that would have made a great difference. I mean, C.J. Mosley wasn't getting this team to 5 wins, but anybody in week 2 who didn't know that the season was over, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, week 2 might be, it's been forgotten about because it's such a long season, such a long, miserable season. No one talks about week 2 anymore because it feels like it was 15 years ago when the Jets took on the San Francisco 49ers, who were down their starting cornerbacks, who lost Bosa 7, 8, 9 snaps into the game, who lost their quarterback. I mean, they literally lost 5, 6, 7 starters by late second quarter of that game, including almost every premium position. Quarterback was gone. Both corners were gone. Edge rusher was gone. And now you might say, oh, well, every now and then a team might lose a bunch of guys and eke out a win. Scrappy team finds a way to do the little things and get by. That didn't happen. The 49ers, down almost every important starter on the roster, stomped the Jets' faces in. 31-13. And it wasn't that close. 31-13, little bit of window dressing when the Jets score a touchdown with 1:20 to go. That game was 31-6 until late in the fourth quarter. And they were down everyone. The Niners were down to backups across the board. I think Kittle was it. Did Kittle even play in that game? I feel like he got hurt in week 1. So they didn't have George Kittle. They didn't have their best receiver. They didn't have both corners. They didn't have their best defenders. They didn't have their quarterback. And Adam Gase led them to a 31-13 defeat that, again, was 31-6 until a garbage time touchdown. That was week 2, folks. If you didn't know then that this season was over and this was going to be I think at the time I said they might win 2 or 3 games. But no, 0 wins. The Rams are going to stomp the Jets' heads in this Sunday. The Browns will do the same the Sunday after that. Merry Christmas, December 27th. Cleveland will beat this team to a pulp. And then on January 3rd, the Jets will play the Patriots in a game that many people have said, are the Patriots going to throw this game? Are they going to throw this game? And Bill Belichick would never do that. I saw someone say it the other day, and I've had the thought myself. Can you think of a time when Bill Belichick threw a football game? I can't. However, can you think of a time Bill Belichick was not going to the playoffs and was faced with the possibility of having really the 4th or the worst quarterback in the division, which is what would happen if the Jets were to get Trevor Lawrence? When was the last time Bill Belichick coached a team, Week 17, was not going to the playoffs, and was having the worst quarterback in the division, staring that scenario right in the face? Never. So his actions in the past don't mean anything come Week 17 because he will be in uncharted waters. This will be a scenario he has never faced before. So, do I think Bill Belichick? Do I think it's beyond Bill Belichick to say, you know what, this is a really important game for us to evaluate some of our players. So we're going to go ahead and start our third string guys, and see what they can do for us. And speaking of seeing what someone can do for you, I want to take a second to plug our sponsor, Miles Social. If you're a small business owner, big business owner, whatever size business owner, and you're looking for someone to help you run all of your business's social media platforms, check out our sponsor, Miles Social. That's milesocial.com, milesocial.com, for help managing any and all of your social media platforms, whether it's TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it may be. Check out Miles Social at milesocial.com and find out what Miles Social can do for you. So this is it, folks. This is where we are right now. I mean, we've got a couple of beatdowns coming up. Like I said, the Rams, again, if the Rams want to, they could probably put up, another 40 points like Seattle did. And they're going to get some defensive touchdowns. They really are. Cleveland has been, that game against Baltimore, Jesus. Cleveland right now is light years ahead of the Jets. So that'll be another win. And then it's going to come down to that game in New England. And I'll tell you what, if I'm Joe Douglas and if I'm Chris Johnson, I'm going to call Adam Gase the night before the game and say, look, we're gonna out Belichick here, and we want to get a look at James Morgan this week, and we want to get a look at Jaleel Scott, who congrats to him at his first catch of the year this week, big target, 6'5". But I'm gonna say Jaleel's got to be the guy this week. We want him at receiver, and I'm just throw guys out there. Don't let Belichick, it's going to be a case of two teams, two head coaches, or it could be a case of two head coaches trying not to win a football game. And I think the Jets have the ability to lose to the Patriots, even if the Patriots are intentionally trying to lose that game. Which, will it happen? We'll see. Listen, Bill Belichick might have enough confidence that he'll say, look, I don't give a damn who they have. In a couple years, we're going to be better than them. And if I have an opportunity to send the New York Jets to a 42-0 loss on their way to 0-16, I'm happy to do it. Maybe he will. I don't know. But nobody knows. Because as I said, nobody can point to a time, show me a time where Bill Belichick was in this situation. This is new for him. It's new for everybody. But what needs to be new for the Jets next season is their head coach. Hopefully a quarterback's coach this time around. And a new structure. Hopefully this is a Joe Douglas hire. And Joe Douglas has the opportunity to pick his own head coach and move forward with this disastrous organization. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight, Jets fans. As I said, we were going to keep it short and sweet. Just a terrible week all around, and more misery just a few days away. But we are at 19 days, folks, by my count. I've been shooting out the tweets, counting down the days till Adam Gase is fired. I am going under the assumption that the Jets will fire Adam Gase the morning after they lose to the Patriots. I may be wrong. They may end the Jets fans' misery 16, 17, 18 hours earlier by firing him immediately after the game. We will see, but I'm just going with history here. You remember with Rex, they didn't announce it until the following morning. But I hope, as I said before, I hope that game ends and Adam Gase isn't allowed into the locker room and they tell him there's an Uber waiting for him outside. Can't get rid of this guy soon enough. And hopefully, really, that guy never gets a job in the NFL again. I mean, honestly, he's done more bad for NFL players, for NFL teams he's worked for. I can't remember a guy who threw as many of his players under the bus, who lied as much as he did, who does as much losing as he does, who makes as many excuses as he does. There really is no place for that guy in a professional organization, whether it's the NFL or anything. Anywhere where you're paid to be good at something, that is not where I would want Adam Gase. So here's to hoping this is his last couple weeks in the NFL, and he moves on into obscurity after that. We will see, but that is it for me this week, and we'll be back next week, hopefully, with a full contingent with myself, Alex, and Dylan. Well, thank you so much for tuning in this week, Jets fans. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at JetNation Radio. Glenn is at AceFan23, and Alex is at NYJetsLife24.
Until next time,
go Jets!